Forget what you think you know about trains. We're not talking about your average commuter rail. We're talking about titans of steel, mechanical monsters so massive they defy belief, and so powerful they literally moved mountains. These are the largest, heaviest, and most extreme locomotives ever built, and many of them have stories you've never heard. Why were these behemoths created? And what secrets did they take to the scrap heap? By the end of this video, you'll see engineering in a whole new light. We guarantee you'll be shocked by number 7. Which machine will blow your mind? Let us know in the comments which one you think is the ultimate giant, and subscribe right now so you never miss another story of epic engineering. When you hear giant locomotive, one name echoes above all: Big Boy. The Union Pacific 4014 is the undisputed king, a living legend, and the largest operational steam locomotive in the world. But its fame isn't just about size, it's about purpose. Born in the 1940s, the Big Boys were designed for one reason: to conquer the brutal Wasatch Mountains in Utah. They needed to pull immensely heavy freight trains over steep grades unassisted, a job that previously required multiple smaller engines. The scale of a Big Boy is staggering. It's an articulated locomotive, meaning it has 2 sets of massive driving wheels, allowing it to navigate curves despite its colossal length of over 132 feet, longer than 2 city buses. Weighing in at 1.2 million pounds with its tender, it's one of the heaviest locomotives ever built. But its true strength was its power, a staggering 6,290 horsepower. This wasn't just a train, it was a self-propelled industrial revolution on wheels, thundering across the American West. What most people don't know is why they were called Big Boy. The name wasn't from a corporate committee. An unknown worker at the American Locomotive Company, ALCO, simply scrawled Big Boy in chalk on the front of the 4000 smokebox during construction. The name stuck, becoming the perfect simple title for the most complex and powerful steam engine America, and arguably the world, had ever produced. Of the 25 built, 8 survived, but only one, number 4014, roams the rails today, a thundering reminder of when steam was king. If Big Boy was the king of steam, the EMD DDA-40X was the emperor of diesel. Built by EMD in 1969, these locomotives were a celebration of the 100th anniversary of the Golden Spike Ceremony, which completed the first transcontinental railroad. And what a celebration it was. To this day, the Centennial holds the world record as the most powerful single-unit diesel-electric locomotive ever built. It wasn't 2 engines coupled together, it was one single gargantuan frame. The DDA-40X is an exercise in excess. At 98 feet long, it was so massive it earned the nickname King of the Rails. Inside its cavernous body, it housed not one but 2 16-cylinder 3,300 horsepower diesel engines, giving it a combined total of 6,600 horsepower. This twin-engine setup gave it incredible reliability. If one engine failed, it could still operate on the other. It was a high-speed freight hauler designed to pull heavy loads at speeds of up to 90 miles per hour, a blistering pace for freight in its day. But here's the part you won't believe. Despite their power, their reign was surprisingly short. Union Pacific was the only railroad to ever order them, and only 47 were built. Why? They were simply too big and too complex. Their immense length was hard on the tracks, and maintenance was a nightmare, essentially requiring technicians to service 2 engines in one. By the mid-1980s, they were all retired, replaced by smaller, more efficient, and more flexible locomotives. Today, 13 survive, including 1 operational unit, a magnificent monument to a time when bigger was always better. While the Big Boy gets all the fame, many railroad experts will argue that this was the true heavyweight champion. Meet the Allegheny H8, built for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, C&O. These locomotives were not designed for speed, they were designed for one thing: raw, brutal pulling power. Their job was to haul mind-numbingly heavy coal trains out of the deep valleys of the Allegheny Mountains in West Virginia. This was slow-speed, high-tractive effort work at its most extreme. The numbers are simply monstrous. The Allegheny H8 is widely considered the heaviest steam locomotive ever built, tipping the scales at over 1.2 million pounds with its tender. But its real claim to fame was its power output. While the big boy was rated at 6,290 horsepower, the Allegheny was officially rated at 7,500 horsepower, making it the most powerful steam locomotive ever constructed. Its firebox grate was enormous, 135 square feet, necessary to burn the sheer volume of coal needed to generate that much steam. But the most unbelievable part of the Allegheny story is its tragic obscurity. These engines were so heavy that they systematically destroyed the very tracks they ran on, causing massive maintenance headaches for the C&O. Furthermore, they were delivered just as the diesel era was dawning, and their incredible power was quickly overshadowed by the efficiency of the new technology. Only 60 were built, and they were all scrapped by 1956 after very short service lives. Only 2 survive, quiet reminders of a machine that was arguably too powerful for its own good. Enter the modern era of monster locomotives. In the 1990s, a horsepower war ignited between America's 2 rail giants, General Electric, GE, and General Motors, EMD. The result was this, the GE AC6000 This locomotive is, simply put, the most powerful single-engine diesel-electric locomotive ever built. While the DDA-40X had 2 engines, the AC6000 does its work with one massive prime mover. The heart of this beast is the GE 7FDL16 engine, a 16-cylinder powerhouse that produced a staggering 6,000 horsepower and in testing was pushed to 6,250. This engine was so advanced and powerful that it became the locomotive's greatest strength and its greatest weakness. Coupled with state-of-the-art AC traction motors, the AC6000 had a tractive effort that could restart a heavy train on a steep grade, making it a favorite for heavy haul routes. When you see one of these, you are looking at the pinnacle of 20th century diesel power. But here's the catch. That 6,000 horsepower engine was notoriously unreliable. It was pushed to its absolute limits, and the initial units were plagued with mechanical failures, including turbocharger problems and severe vibrations. GE and the railroad spent years trying to iron out the kinks. By the time they did, stricter emission standards were on the horizon, making the massive engine obsolete. Many AC6000 CWs were actually derated to 4,400 horsepower for reliability. Today, they still thunder across the rails, but they stand as a lesson that power isn't everything if you can't control it. Half a world away, in the freezing darkness of the Arctic Circle, exists a locomotive built for a task so extreme it requires a machine unlike any other. This is the Bombardier Iora, a twin-unit electric locomotive operated by LKAB in Sweden. Its sole purpose is to haul the Malmbanan, or iron ore line, one of the heaviest and most demanding rail routes on Earth. These trains carry iron ore from mines in Kiruna, Sweden, to the ice-free port of Narvik, Norway, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The Iora is the definition of modern power. Each twin-unit locomotive consists of 2 identical sections permanently coupled together. Combined, they are over 148 feet long and weigh 360 metric tons. They produce a continuous 10,800 kilowatts, which translates to a mind-bending 14,500 horsepower. This, combined with their immense weight, makes them the most powerful locomotives in the world, capable of pulling 68-car trains loaded with 8,600 tons of iron ore through brutal snow, ice, and grades. What you won't believe is the environment they work in. These engines operate in temperatures that regularly plunge to 40 degrees Celsius. They are designed to be serviceable in extreme cold, and their power is necessary not just to pull the load, but to fight the elements. Unlike the historic engines on this list, the Iora is a modern marvel, a highly specialized tool built for one of the most inhospitable jobs on the planet. They aren't just big for show, They are big because they have to be. This might be the most futuristic, bizarre, and ultimately tragic giant on our list. Built in 1939 for the Pennsylvania Railroad, PRR, the S1 was nicknamed the Big Engine, and it was. It was the longest and heaviest rigid-frame steam locomotive ever built, stretching to an unbelievable 140 feet. But it wasn't a slow freight hauler. It was an experimental passenger locomotive designed to pull 1,000-ton passenger trains at over 100 miles per hour. The S1 was a true duplex locomotive, meaning it had two sets of driving wheels in one rigid frame, unlike the articulated Big Boy. This 6-4-4-6 wheel arrangement was unique. Visually, it was a masterpiece, with a stunning streamlined shroud designed by the legendary Raymond Loewy. It was famously displayed at the 1939 New York World's Fair, where it ran on a dynamometer, captivating crowds. It was, in theory, the future of steam power, capable of producing over 7,200 horsepower. But the S1 was a spectacular failure. Its rigid frame was simply too long for the PRR's tracks, limiting it to just one route between Chicago and Crestline, Ohio. It was also notoriously prone to violent wheel slip. Its four cylinders were so powerful that the front and rear engines would often slip at different speeds, tearing the locomotive apart. It was a maintenance black hole and a driver's nightmare. It was quietly retired in 1946, and despite its fame and one-of-a-kind status, was unceremoniously scrapped in 1949. It was a machine that was too big, too ambitious, and too far ahead of its time. Prepare to enter the bizarre world of Soviet super-engineering. This is the AA-21, and it holds the undisputed record as the steam locomotive with the most driving axles in the world. While a Big Boy had 8 driving axles, 4 on each engine, the AA-2001 had a mind-boggling 14 driving axles, split between 3 sets of wheels, all housed in one colossal, semi-articulated frame. It was the Soviet Union's attempt to create the ultimate freight engine. Built in 1934, the AA-2001 was a true monster. It was over 110 feet long and was designed to solve the problem of axle load. Soviet tracks were often lighter duty than American ones, so instead of making the engine heavier on a few axles, they spread the weight across many. With its 7-axle mainframe and a 7-axle tender that also had driving wheels, it was a completely unique design. It was intended to be the standard for heavy freight across the USSR. But here's why you've never heard of it. It was a catastrophic disaster. The design was hopelessly complex. The steam pipes feeding the tender engine were inefficient, and the whole machine was too rigid, despite its articulation, to handle the curves of Soviet railways. It derailed constantly and was so damaging to the track that it was almost unusable. After just a few trial runs, it was deemed a total failure, nicknamed the American Soviet due to its 4-14-4 wheel arrangement, which looked like a 2-8-8-2 plus 2-6-2 and quietly stored. It was scrapped in 1960, a forgotten testament to an engineering dream that turned into a nightmare. Not all giants are from the past. Meet the China DF-11G, a high-speed diesel locomotive that represents the pinnacle of modern passenger rail in a country obsessed with speed. Built by Kishuyan Locomotive Works, the DF-11G is a quasi-high-speed locomotive designed to pull long, heavy passenger trains at speeds up to 106 miles per hour, 170 km/h, on China's rapidly expanding rail network. Like the DDA-40X, the DF-11G is a twin-unit locomotive composed of 2 identical sections permanently coupled together. Each section has its own 16-cylinder diesel engine, giving the locomotive a combined total of nearly 10,000 horsepower. This immense power is necessary to accelerate long 20-car sleeper trains quickly and maintain high speeds over long distances. They are a common sight on major routes, such as Beijing to Shanghai, pulling double-decker passenger cars. This locomotive is a giant born from a unique constraint. South Africa, like many Commonwealth countries, uses Cape gauge railways, which are narrower than the standard gauge used in North America and Europe. This narrow gauge severely limits the width and therefore the size of a locomotive. To build a powerful engine, you have to build long, and that is exactly what they did with the Class 25. The Class 25, introduced in 1953, was the ultimate expression of steam power on the Cape gauge. To get the power they needed, the designers at North British Locomotive Company and Henschel and Son created a massive articulated locomotive that was, for its gauge, one of the most powerful engines ever built. But its most incredible feature was its tender. The Class 25 was designed to cross the vast, arid Karoo Desert where water was non-existent. So they gave it a massive condensing tender. This wasn't just a water tank, it was a mobile cooling plant. Exhaust steam from the cylinders was piped back to the tender, where it was cooled by a series of massive fans turned back into water and fed back to the boiler. This system allowed the Class 25 to travel nearly 700 miles without refilling its water, an 80–90% water saving. It was a bizarre, complex, and brilliant solution, making the Class 25 not just a giant of power, but a giant of endurance. We end with a glimpse into the future of giant locomotives. This is the Siemens Vectron Dual Mode XXL, a machine that is less about brute force and more about extreme flexibility. In modern Europe, railway networks are a complex patchwork of electrified and non-electrified lines. This traditionally means trains must stop to change locomotives, wasting time and energy. The Vectron Dual Mode is designed to eliminate that problem entirely. As its name implies, this locomotive is a hybrid. On electrified routes, it runs as a powerful 9,000 horsepower, 6,700 kilograms electric locomotive, drawing power from overhead lines. But when it reaches the end of the wire, it doesn't stop. It simply fires up its powerful onboard 3,200 horsepower diesel engine and continues on its journey, pulling the same heavy freight train. This is two locomotives in one, a one-size-fits-all solution for the most complex rail network in the world. The XXL version is the key. While the standard Vectron Dual Mode is impressive, the XXL variant, built for Finnish operator Fenniarail, is adapted for the brutal cold of Scandinavia and the wider Finnish gauge. It's a massive 147-ton machine designed for heavy hauling in extreme conditions. This isn't a giant from the past built for one single brutal task. It's a modern, intelligent giant, built to be a high-horsepower chameleon, and it's changing the face of European freight forever. From the steam-powered fury of the Big Boy and the Allegheny, to the diesel-electric excess of the DDA-40X, and the bizarre failed experiment of the Soviet AA-21, these machines are more than just trains. They are monuments of human ambition, testaments to our relentless drive to build bigger, faster, and more powerful. They pushed engineering to its absolute limits, and sometimes far beyond. What other engineering marvels should we cover? Let us know. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. You don't want to miss what's next.